Hey guys, what's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Election Day. Happy Election Day, everybody. Seriously, today is the damn day. I'm sorry I'm late. I am so sorry. I had something personal come up, but I'm here. Okay, I'm here. And I know that I've got some faithful ones here in the building. So I'm going to let y'all come on in and let me get some things going here because we got some stuff to talk about. I hope y'all's day is going very, very well. It's so funny that this is election day, isn't it? It is so crazy that this is election day. And right now, especially as I'm going to share out my screen here.
They also think the president is wrong with his tone on law and order. They say they want to see African Americans be treated fairly. As you know, African Americans are some 2.5 times to 3 times more likely to be killed by the police. So those protesters are saying they were happy that President Trump is now up for re-election. They're hoping that he is ousted. But of course, while you see a number of people outside the White House rallying against the president, inside the White House, there are people that are hoping for just the opposite.
Yamiche Alcindor doing double duty tonight. She's not only covering the Trump campaign at the White House, she's also in touch with some of the organizers of the Black Lives Matter.
Wow, so they're actually
showing
protesting against, I mean, this, I'm praying,
gathered there.
I'm praying that Donald Trump is kicked out.
Go right now, but come back to you, of course, shortly. But our John Yang is in Wilmington, Delaware, where the Biden.
Let's see what ABC is talking about. Y'all know me. We're going to be skipping around.
But as Janae was saying, this is a key state that the Democrats wanted to pick up to turn from red to blue. And frankly, this is a purple state that is leaning blue, George. And,
yes, lean blue, baby. Hey, guys, come on in. Let's have us a little election party.
And the state that we were saying is purple leaning.
Hey, Liliana. How are you? Yeah, I'm afraid they're not going to get Texas. They never do, but maybe one day we will go purple at least and maybe blue. Hey, Josie, Florida, I don't know what's up with, whoa, I'm looking at Florida's results. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. I voted already. You're anxious, you're literally emotional. Well, I'll tell you guys what, let's just take a moment. Let's go ahead and watch some of this coverage, and then we'll talk here in a minute. So let's watch some of this coverage.
It was unlikely that he was going to win this. The polls had favored Hickenlooper all along, but this is one state, possibly another in the Rocky Mountain region, Montana, that could flip from red to blue tonight. George.
Matt Cummins, thanks very much. Mary Bruce, your day job is covering Capitol Hill, and I wanted you to pick up on what John Carl was just talking about there. Cory Gardner, one of those senators who, whenever President Trump got in a little bit of trouble, he disappeared.
Yeah, it was amazing how all of a sudden Cory Gardner would become very hard to find in the halls of the Capitol in those moments. Look, as John was saying, he was viewed as the most vulnerable Republican tonight. There are several others that Democrats are keeping a close eye on. And I have to say, George, Republicans know that there is a very real risk that they could lose their Senate majority tonight. In addition to Colorado, which we now know the result in, they're keeping a very close eye on Arizona. They feel very
that mean for the risk of reinfection here in the United States?
You bring up a very good point, Margaret.
Margaret, that's a great question.
Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
Go to the ends of the earth.
right now.
We got something crazy. And reach for.
Today, he got this postcard in the mail to our home in New Jersey. Your ballot has been received by the state of New Jersey. So I feel pretty good about that.
Well, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, 4 individuals who've served our country. Thank you for your time and for your care. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's, it's worth noting we've not heard the word chaos much today. A lot of.
Nor have we seen it.
Nor have we seen it, obviously. Let's go to Hallie Jackson right now. Hallie, let's talk a little bit about North Carolina. and how the president's campaign is looking at those numbers right now.
Yeah, they're looking at them in, I think, a positive light, Lester. I just got off the phone with one source close to the campaign who's talking about how they believe that North Carolina could be potentially a good thing for them.
Hold on, ABC showing a map, an electoral college map. I want to take a look at this. Those are really what I'm interested in. Let's bring that up real quick. It shows
4% in.
All right,
4% in.
let's go back a little because this is what this electoral college map is. What is it matters. It's not the popular vote. So let's take a look at what the electoral college
Numbers
map
are really
looks
all
like.
over the place. There's not really a narrative we can really talk about at this point. Look, for instance, I'll give you Scranton right here. Lackawanna, Donald Trump is on top in Joe Biden's hometown, and he's overperforming there for Republicans. We go just south, Lucerne County. This is Wilkes-Barre. This is a swing county that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. Tonight,
Congratulations, Sonia.
Only 29% of the vote in. On the big cities,
feels
where
good,
Democrats
don't it?
really have to win. Allegheny, Pittsburgh. You can see how high Joe Biden's there. That's a type of number Democrats want to make sure they can hold in Pennsylvania, not only in Pittsburgh, but also in Philadelphia. Let me open this up a little more as we get to Philadelphia and the suburbs. George, look, I don't want people to have a freak out here. 93%, that's obviously incredible, but there's only 9% of the vote in at this moment. Let me squeeze this down a little bit. We'll look at one of the suburb counties, the extra counties around Philadelphia where Democrats have to run the score. Joe Biden's doing good, but again, George, it's so early. There's nothing really to pull.
Do we have anything from Erie County? And then I want to bring John in.
Yeah, Erie County, we have Donald Trump, barely won this just by a percentage point 4 years ago, but it was one of those swing counties that Obama won. And you can see right now, John, it's neck and neck, but 4% in, 4% in.
But I've got to say, if you go back to the Philly suburbs, Montgomery County, Delaware County, you see Biden with nearly 80-point lead. It's 16% of the vote in. What's really important here, though, George, is, as I understand it, almost all of the vote that has been counted are people that voted today on Election Day. Pennsylvania didn't start counting
In those collar counties of Philadelphia?
Yes, this is day of voting.
Yes,
So they
I
still
am
have to
here,
count
you
all
guys.
of the mail-in vote. They didn't
I'm
start
actually
opening
here.
envelopes until today.
That's going to take a long time. It's actually going to take several days.
Wow.
The mail-in vote is expected to really lean
heavily towards Joe Biden. So I think
Hey,
it's
guys.
interesting. It's still a small amount, no doubt. But I think that it's interesting already in the suburbs of
Checking out some of these views
Philadelphia.
real
Those used to be
quick.
swing areas. Now they're trending deep blue.
I like trending deep blue. Okay. My husband got harassed while voting today. He had to show them something to get them away from his car. They definitely scattered after that. He's lucky I wasn't with him. I'd be in jail. People are bold as fuck. Wow.
To his approval rating. Let's dive in here and see what the exit polls show.
Anything to get him not to
The exit polls,
vote.
as we mentioned earlier in the night, do
They don't want his
reflect
vote.
both, as John Carl was mentioning, people who voted today and those
If Trump
who voted
wins, I'm not
early
watching
in person. As you can see,
the news
this,
for the next 4
refresh that
years
to see
because
if
they
the job
always talk.
performance comes up.
Oh my God.
52%
That is so
disapproving
true.
of Donald Trump and his performance. Whether or not to contain the pandemic first or rebuild the economy, you can see overwhelmingly they say we've got to take care of this coronavirus in the U.S. And they say that Joe Biden is the best to handle that. When you look at the economy, Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Hey guys, hey Lady P.
Issue in Pennsylvania.
We are just watching this together, guys. We may not even know, to be completely honest with you guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. It is extremely possible that we may not know who the president is by the end of the night. We are so used to knowing who the president is that very night on an election. But because of all the mail-in ballots, it may be a day or two or three before we actually really, really know. But you can guarantee your ass, the donkey kind, that Donald Trump is going to challenge it. He's going to fight leaving that White House if he's voted out. Hey, Roman, I can't never say your name, but hey, baby, how you doing? We have to work the electoral college. That is how our voting system is. Unfortunately, it's not the popular vote, but let's just keep our eyes on a couple of these news. I'm going to be switching in between. We'll have some discussions. you know, as we go through this together. Like, this is just an impromptu random live. I scheduled this yesterday. My people know that I love politics, and how could I not sit here and just hang out with you guys and stream with you guys our presidential election? So anyway, let's go ahead and get back to it.
Independence so far as the exit polls are concerned in Pennsylvania.
Chris Christie, neighboring state of yours in New Jersey, always going to be an uphill battle for the president, but essential.
Listen, vital, has to have it. And I do think, though, that the things that we're seeing still
exactly,
very early,
N1.
but there's underperformance in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Indicated. That's what I can.
There's just too many melon.
Oh,
my Lord.
Still feeling. Like,
wait, y'all. I got to clown real quick. You see this fat, nasty. This dude is disgusting. Okay, let me tell you a little something about Chris Christie, and I just have to say this. That fat fuck, Chris Christie, excuse my French, okay? He is such a crooked politician. He shut down an entire freeway system because he wasn't getting what he wanted as governor when he was the governor in New Jersey. Now, he was pretty much convicted of doing that, but dude is dirty. He's one of those ass kisser kinds. Like, he would have loved it if Donald Trump would have put him into some sort of an office, position in the White House. But Donald Trump just uses him and never rewards him for anything. So Chris Christie has never had any sort of position in his administration whatsoever. Chris Christie, it's just so funny to me to see him on TV advocating for Donald Trump, and he's one of the most crooked politicians, and he used to be the governor of New Jersey. Just wow. But I digress.
they can turn out their day of vote in a way that's going to make it very close. No one's predicting a win there yet that I've heard, but no one's.
I want to see Florida get better numbers than that.
Spent more time, energy, money, focus on Pennsylvania than any other.
I cannot believe people are still voting down party lines. They don't vote their conscience.
When a guy stood up,
they vote party lines.
You're a sheriff. I mean, he's
pathetic.
got to feel like a precinct captain or a county
So
exec.
pathetic.
They look at these numbers, and I would say there's a regional thing that's starting to happen. You look at the Ohio numbers, you look at Pennsylvania numbers. They're early, but there are trend lines where Joe Biden is outperforming in the suburbs. He's outperforming among working
So
class,
Biden has
and he's
officially
also
won
outperforming
Colorado.
in the
Trump
rural
has
areas, even though
officially
you don't
won
count
North
it.
Dakota.
Just minimizing the losses is doing well. So he is doing really in those areas well. The vote total, in the sense of how many people show up in the suburbs versus working industrial areas versus urban, is going to be what's really interesting. Because I think the urban areas may not be performing to the kind of baseline of what people were expecting.
Yvette, are you seeing that?
Oh, is he trying to say that black people aren't voting?
That's not what we're seeing, and that's what I want to
they
make sure I reserve
expected? Is that what he
comments.
just
We're
said?
seeing a lot of, particularly in Ohio, Hamilton County, Cuyahoga County, Franklin County, huge turnout there. I mean, we're running not just on the presidential, but down ticket. We're winning all these races down ticket as well. And so I think we'll just have to wait and see. Some of those places like Cuyahoga, for instance, people were still in line up until about a half an hour ago
Those are
in
the
Cuyahoga
watchwords
County.
for tonight. Wait and see. And we're going to be doing that with every state all night long. Sarah Fagan, the Trump campaign was hoping after that last debate where they thought that Joe Biden made a blunder by talking about ending fossil fuels. And
Y'all, I want to show you something, okay? I want to show you something really
New polling
quick.
tells us Biden does have
Watch
the
this.
opportunity for a statement map-changing win. That is not to say there is no path to re-election for the president, but he needs overwhelming election day turnout in a half dozen states or so, maybe more. Let's look at some of our latest polling, and let's use a 2016 map to do it, because brand new CNN polling out overnight.
Okay, I got
is some
you,
of the key
Mona.
battlegrounds. This one here, look at Arizona.
Hey,
Joe
True
Biden
Seeker.
with a 4-point lead in Arizona. That
Yes,
is close. If
honey.
Joe Biden can win this state, that might
Ooh,
be a
I
game
love
over
that
state in
picture,
and of
Lady
itself.
P.
Change the Sun Belt states, but look, this one is very close. Joe Biden with a lead. He'd love to turn that state competitive to the end. Let's move to the east here and look at our new CNN polling. Again, one of the states that could decide it all, and that actually we expect to count its votes quickly on election day, North Carolina. Joe Biden with a 6-point lead in North Carolina.
That's
if that
good.
holds up, that would block the president. He needs North Carolina's electoral votes to win re-election. Joe Biden with a lead there.
Wow.
A couple others quickly. Michigan. Remember, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. That's what made Donald Trump president. He cracked the blue wall.
Right.
But look at this. The new CNN poll, a 12-point lead for Joe Biden.
Damn.
Steady, stable lead we've seen for Joe Biden in Michigan. This one, 12 points heading into the final weekend. That would be a statement that the Democrats are getting the industrial states back. And then you move over to Wisconsin. Again, part of the president's big win 4 years ago. You see this here, an 8-point lead for Biden in Wisconsin. Just go back, remember the history.
These are
47.8
battleground
to
states.
47. Wisconsin
He
was one
has,
of those.
Trump
in
has to win
2016,
these battleground
22,000 votes
states.
and change, 52-44 there. Now, that is not to say the president can't come back, but let's switch maps to just show you something. That advantage in those states, right? Let's start with the president's map. This is the president's map back in 2016. If Joe Biden can win Arizona, like you just saw in our poll, win North Carolina, like you just saw in our poll, win Michigan, and win Wisconsin, that's enough right there. If he holds the Clinton states and then flips those 4, he would be the next president of the United States, and he can do it without Pennsylvania, without Florida, without Texas. The president has a path, but he has to turn people out overwhelmingly. One more just look here at the battlegrounds. If you look at the state of play right now, 10 battleground states on this graphic. Let me try to stretch it out for you a little bit. 10 battleground states on this graphic. What do you see? Only 2 of them does the president have leads in new polls. Florida by a little bit. Iowa, one poll last night shows him up by 7. But look at all the blue for Biden. Biden has more menu opportunities to get there. The president, draw to an inside straight flush maybe. Both candidates on the campaign trail in the final days hitting the battlegrounds, trying to get to 270.
Damn.
3 days to put an end to a presidency that has divided this nation. 3 days.
Now listen, y'all, those battleground states are critical. And that's really what it always comes down to every single election time is the battleground states. And, the election's going to be a shocker to the Trumpers. If those predictions are still accurate, remember, Trump has to win the majority of those battleground states to take the presidency. He can't not win them. So if Biden is already leading, okay, this is a very good shot that Trump is out of there, baby. So right now, let's go ahead and look at some additional maps. These maps we need to look at these electoral college maps as they come in. We look at the various counties, red, blue, the percentages of the votes where we are now. Yes, it's very possible we may not know who the president is by the end of this night tonight. We may have a good idea though, but this is a historical election, 2020, baby. And guess what? We're all alive to see it today. The year 2020. Did you ever think? All right, let's get back to looking at some live coverage of some of these polls. Okay, let's go.
Over Joe Biden right now. Tom, what stands out?
What stands out for me, George, as I put Texas here in the middle of the map so we can see it a little bigger, absentee, basically neck and neck, George. Look at that right there.
That is
Democrats
Texas?
had to build a lead on the early vote, especially in a state like Texas, but Republicans showed up early as well, and they voted there in Texas. Look, a lot of red counties. Texas has been Republican for a very long time. Jimmy Carter was the last Democrat to win this state. Some things that are good for Democrats are around the Dallas County suburb areas, and we'll show you why. So Fort Worth, which is usually a Republican stronghold.
Oh, yeah.
This out here. Tarrant County, 49%. It's neck and neck. President Trump won this by almost 10 points 4 years ago. We go a little bit higher here to Denton County. It's the same story. President Trump underperforming there. But here's something that's interesting. In Houston,
do y'all see my
Harris
face?
County, the biggest county so far, it's essentially the same race as it was 4 years ago. Harris County, Houston, is an area where the Democrats have to run up the score even more if they have any chance of winning in Texas. Because you go to one of these red counties, George, look at that, in East Texas, it's 3-1, and it's like that all across East Texas.
Matt Dowd is in Texas. Matt, it looks like John Cornyn is going to be returned as a Republican senator from Texas. But in the final days of his campaign, he started to break a little bit, uncharacteristically, from President Trump.
Well, I think he saw the numbers in
Let me tell you
Texas and the
something.
changing nature. He's catching up to the changing
Texas
nature
is a very,
of the
very
state of
red
Texas,
state.
which,
And
as
to
we talked
see
about
that
earlier,
it
has
could
gone
be
from a solid
purple.
red state
and then
now, I think, a
eventually go
slightly red
blue.
state. I think
Hey,
in the end,
this
Biden's
is what
gonna
we
get
call
really
the
close
blue
in the state
wave.
as I look at the numbers.
We've been calling
Very
this the
closer
blue
than
wave
any
for
presidential
years.
candidate
We
in 40
told
some odd
everybody
years,
that
but I don't think
it's
he's gonna
going to
have
be a
enough. It's those
blue
last 2 or 3
wave
points that are
come
really hard,
2020
but
because
he'll get
people
really
are
close.
sick and
The other
tired of
thing I'm
Donald
gonna say
Trump.
is
But
what's
let's not
played
get
out
ahead
in
of
Florida
ourselves.
is not playing out in Texas.
Let's not get
So I
ahead of
think I
ourselves.
counsel everybody
Right?
to not
Because
interpret one
we
place
don't want to be in a
as meaning it's going to affect
situation
another place. The Hispanic vote
like
here
when Hillary
went
Clinton
really well
lost that
for Joe
night.
Biden,
And we were
much
all
better
so
than
sure,
Donald
you
Trump
know?
did here last time among
were
the
all
Hispanic
so
votes.
sure.
So I just counsel everybody that one state, Florida, maybe.
I just love
The Last
going
Word with Lawrence O'Donnell.
and looking
Weeknights
at
at
the
10 on
different
MSNBC.
opinions. And here we go.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. We're glad to have you with us.
This fall, we're right there with you, whether you're back to school. What do you guys think?
Get on with it now.
Or back to work. We're keeping you safe.
I love being back.
Of course, they don't
Every
allow
morning
a
today.
chat. I hate that. Let people chat.
Donald Trump leading in Florida right now. A lot of focus there has been and is.
I'm going to
now
see if
on
I can
Latino
find a
voters and entering the
YouTube video that has actual chat.
The Latino vote had been shifting in
Here we
2012,
go.
2016, going away from the Republicans.
Let's go, Biden.
And those folks had long been towards Democrats. It has shifted back by 10 points. Donald Trump is getting in the exit polls 45% of the Latino vote in Florida. We're talking now about Florida. We're talking about Cuban Americans, Venezuelan Americans. And that really is the foreign policy of this administration. Secretary Pompeo, been hammering that home. The president has been really disciplined in his message on Joe Biden being
Projected
a
winner of
socialist,
New
a false
Jersey,
claim.
Joe
But that
Biden.
really has borne fruit. They were, as we've been pointing out in Miami-Dade in particular, slow to canvass, and it was because of COVID.
Yes,
But
N1,
that caution
yes.
on COVID has cost Joe Biden a lot in Florida.
All right, let's pick up on that with Chuck Todd, who was at the
Maybe
map.
we could find that
I'm just looking
data.
here at North Carolina for everybody here. As you can see, that the Biden lead is down to just 29,000, 84% in. And as you can see, we're still waiting for a lot more of our yellow, and yellow is same day vote. And again, I will go back to
Chuck
the same
Todd.
area.
That sleepy-eyed
basically,
Chuck, as
the
Donald
issue is
Trump
gonna
calls
be,
him.
there is some vote in these big blue counties still. There's 17% of vote left in Wake. Guilford, there's 18%. So there's some Biden counties where there's votes out. But if you look here, there's still, this is going to be a Trump county. That's going to be a Trump county. So this still looks like a nail biter in North Carolina, but I understand why the Trump people feel good.
All right, Chuck, thanks very much. We'll be back with poll closings in 4 more states at the top.
Right
of the hour,
now,
including
guys.
battlegrounds, Iowa and Nevada. But first, you're
Let me
watching
show you
Decision
the map.
2020 on NBC.
Let me show y'all the map right now as the map stands right now. The map is, hold on. Currently, now this is out of the New York Times, okay? So this is the map currently, okay? This is what it looks like right now. Right now, Joe Biden has 131 electoral college votes. Donald Trump has 92. There's 350 remaining. You need 270 to win. Right now, all the votes, of course, are still being tallied up. Now, I can guarantee you California is going to go to Joe Biden, okay? Straight up. We know this. Washington and Oregon is definitely going to go to him. The ones that are up in play are North Carolina, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan. Those are those battleground states that carry so many electoral college points, essentially, that leads to this 270 that they need to win. So this is the map as it looks right now. Right now. Okay. Now, these are the battleground states to watch. Right now, Florida is leading. Trump is leading in Florida by a margin of 3. 93% of the votes have been reported so far in Florida. Now, North Carolina, Biden has a lead there. He's leading in Ohio. Trump's leading in Georgia. We're not surprised. It's a very Republican state. But you guys don't ever let that frustrate you. Just because you may vote for a Democrat and your state decides to go with a Republican, don't ever let that dissuade you from voting. Seriously, because there's other reasons to vote. Biden is winning by a pretty good margin in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and so far Trump has got Pennsylvania and Michigan. The polls have closed. Let's see. It's 9 o'clock here. We've got another hour before they close. The polls close in Arizona, and we've got the polls close in Nevada at 10. So we've still got those polls. If we just kind of go through some of this analytic data that they're showing us, it's a really close match in North Carolina, man. Biden is definitely getting it. Okay, Biden is expected. Now, we already know he took Colorado. He's expected to win Maine. He's even expected to narrowly win Michigan, but we'll see. Minnesota, they've got Nevada on his list. Wow, they've even got him for Pennsylvania. Now, toss-up states, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Isn't it interesting that Texas is a toss-up state? Usually Texas is never a toss-up state. Let me tell you something. If Texas, and that's why I'm saying I don't believe this will happen, but if Texas goes blue and we give our electoral college votes to Biden, that'll be the first time in my life I've ever seen it. And I'm totally not expecting that at all. So I just wanted to show you this, this map. This is the New York Times. You can go get a lot of data, a lot of good information, live updates as well. Not like video live updates, but we'll keep our eye on this as well. Now let's go ahead and get back to some live coverage here on, from our various different news agencies. And let's see what happens here. Let me share the right screen out here.
It's hard to overstate just how well Trump is doing with this group. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton won Miami-Dade County by 30 points. Right now, Biden's up by 7 points. I mean, so
I
we're
really
talking.
don't want to hear anyone brag about fucking Donald Trump right now. I want to find a very neutral, coverage. Okay. Let's see here. Let's, I'm looking for live only. The results may not be final. Okay. Let me look at live streams only. Bear with me, you guys. We're just hanging out. Get your snacks and all that fun stuff. Let's see what Tampa Bay is talking about. Nothing wrong with looking at Tampa Bay.
The Pinellas County Democrats here.
More interested they had a live
have also
stream.
been watching very closely. Biden still maintains his lead here in Pinellas County, but it's shrunk now. He was leading by about 1,300 votes initially. That looks like that's.
Which will be held in early January.
All right, I'm going to let it sit there for a minute, y'all.
Which one of Loeffler or Collins joins Warnock in there? By the way, a little nugget on Virginia that Mark Murray just learned. Virginia is the exact opposite. They've been only doing election day vote. They're going to count their early vote starting at 11 p.m. So if you're wondering what's going on with Virginia, that will tell you about Virginia. Texas, you noted why is Trump ahead? Well, I can give you one. I can get you one reason why he is. I'm going to take you to those Trump 2018 counties. These were counties that both Beto O'Rourke in that Senate race against
Beto O'Rourke.
Think maybe Texas is a battleground state. I want to show you around the Austin media market here. Austin, Travis County is a huge, big Democratic center. So these two adjacent counties here, Beto run them both. But I want to take you to Hayes here. Number one, Biden's winning it by 12. Beto won it by 16. Again, Beto O'Rourke lost the state. But the point is, and this was something Casey Hunt was learning from her sources, that there appears to be that Biden, while doing pretty well, is underperforming, particularly in the Austin media market. And this shows you right here. It's another reason why I've classified Trump as leading. And by the way, speaking of leading, one place we want to take you is Ohio. And we've been showing you, remember Biden had the early lead while the Republican vote is starting to come in. You can see the county maps getting redder.
Y'all, it's going to be frustrating.
100,000. You can see what we're seeing here, the early absentees. So right now, a lot more election day votes. There's still some early votes to count. So we've got a long way to go in Ohio. We know it's about a 50-50 split, the early vote,
which we know favors Biden, the election day vote, which favors Trump. So watch for our orange and yellow lines here to see if they become 50-50. But the yellow, anytime you see yellow, that's usually a pretty good sign for President Trump.
All right, let's bring in Kristen Welker now. She is at Biden headquarters. How are they feeling about the numbers and what we're seeing here?
Well, Lester, with Florida looking increasingly out of reach, of course, they are focused on North Carolina and on Georgia. One campaign official acknowledging that both of those states look very close. But this official telling me we still feel good. We still feel like we have a shot there. So they are focused on those two states. And then, of course, the Midwest, their blue wall. That is where they think that ultimately Vice President Biden will prevail. They are very interested in what they're seeing in Ohio. I've been talking to a number of officials in and out of the campaign, including to Democrats in Ohio, with one telling me that the turnout in some of those Democratic strongholds has been quite strong. And then in some of the swing counties, it looks like Biden is outperforming expectations. Why is that significant? Even if Biden doesn't carry Ohio, they believe it could have implications for the all-important battleground state of Pennsylvania. And that is really where we began this discussion tonight. Why has Biden spent so much time in Pennsylvania over the past several weeks throughout the course of this campaign? Because ultimately it could be make or break for Joe Biden with its electoral votes. That's why he was there today in Scranton and in Philadelphia, urging voters to turn out. Of course, back in 2016, the Obama coalition underperformed, and that's why Hillary Clinton fell short there. So he is trying to win that state back. And without Pennsylvania, very difficult for President Trump to return to the White House. So it is a critical state for him as well. Guys.
All right, Kristen, thank you. And that brings us to Jason Miller, senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Jason, it's good to have you with us. So far, it looks like the president is performing well in the states he has to win. He does have to contend with the so-called blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. How are you feeling about that?
Savannah, good evening. Feeling very, very good. I think Florida is a state that the president is definitely going to carry. Feel good about where we are with Georgia. We also feel good about North Carolina. I think we're going to win by somewhere between 50 and 70,000 votes. Also, when you take a look at some of the rural counties in Indiana, the way that we're performing with those small towns that are about 5,000 or less people, some of that can be extrapolated out and compared to, say, Wisconsin, Michigan. Looking at some of the rural areas, you look at Kent County in Michigan, for example, where we're increasing. So states where we have, or excuse me, counties where we have 75% or more of the vote in so far, we're increasing our margins in Michigan by between 6 and 7%. And I think one of the big surprises, there are two big surprises, I think, so far. Number one, I think President Trump is going to win Minnesota tonight. You look at the way the data is trending. We feel very good about that state. That's going to be a big shock to Biden and I think to a lot of folks, since we haven't won that since 1972. But the biggest story of the night so far, Black voters and Latino voters helping to power President Trump forward, and I think will be the big difference in him being reelected tonight.
I know everything seems positive, but tell me the kind of thing that you started this evening wringing your hands over that still sits out there that you worry about.
Well, fundamentally, keep in mind that Democrats knew that they were going to have this early vote, the absentee votes. And so we actually saw a lot of those early votes the same way that the Democrats did. What we thought, though, was different is that we would have this red wave, folks who would actually show up on Election Day. And the Democrats essentially had already cannibalized all of their votes. People who are likely Democratic primary voters who were going to vote, people who wanted to vote against President Trump, basically did that right at the beginning of the early vote period. So we feel, so we're kind of concerned a little bit about that, but it looks like our models, our predictions for the turnout are looking to be right on track. And Democrats basically shot their wad in the early vote. They just don't have it right now. And that's the difference in the enthusiasm factor. Our folks are going to show up on Election Day. Theirs aren't.
Are you ready to claim North Carolina on your map?
I think that we will win by between 50 and 70,000 votes. So that's where we're tracking. All of the counties that are outstanding are counties that the president won in 2016. And so if you, again, we're past the polling aspect. I think one of the stories for tonight is that polling is broken. Polling is like Humpty Dumpty. It's smashed into 1,000 pieces. But when you look at the actual votes that are in and our modeling for where we're going to win North Carolina.
Jason Miller, thank you for coming on.
All right, let's turn to Chuck real quick. Polling is broken. You just heard it from Jason Miller. He said it's like Humpty Dumpty falling off the wall. Are you ready to declare that verdict?
I got my issues with some state polling, that's for sure. I mean, I think there is definitely an issue in that there's just no quality control with a lot of some of these pollsters you've never heard of and things like this. There's no doubt. We're finally starting to get some Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. See, you wanted to hear some Arizona? By the way, they did the big dump. I told you that's what they do. We went from 0 to 69%. Okay. Just to give you an estimate here, as you see, there's a significant chunk. They're doing what they said they do. They said they'd be able to handle both their early vote and some of their same day vote. They'd be processing it together. And as you can see, we got a big chunk of it already out. And Biden has a good lead here. Savannah, as you know, you could argue that it's a one county election. Because Maricopa, one instance in the last decade where some statewide candidate lost Maricopa County, which is home of Phoenix, arguably the largest suburb in America, and somehow won statewide, but that person lost about like 1,000 votes. So as you see here, a 10-point lead right now in Maricopa with 77% in. And just so you can see, Donald Trump carried Maricopa. Mitt Romney carried Maricopa. John McCain carried Maricopa. Obviously, he was an Arizona native. So, look.
How much of Maricopa County is in? 77%.
Okay. So, this is a good chunk. This is a big lead. Look, they needed something in the Sun Belt right now. I know the Biden folks are feeling a bit antsy. North Carolina's making them antsy. Georgia, we still got a lot of vote for that to come in. We know Florida appears to be gone. I know we haven't officially called that yet. So, early on right now, and it's a lot of vote in, Arizona looks like it may actually make pollsters feel better.
Let's turn to Casey on that. I am from Arizona, so I know that, yes, while Maricopa County and Pima County are important, so are all the other counties, and they're largely red counties. What are you hearing, Casey?
Well, Savannah, my sources are saying that they expect, and Chuck touched on this, to have a little bit of a roller coaster here in terms of counting, that it'll look good initially for Joe Biden, that then we may see them start to count some votes that may turn this toward Trump, and then there could be another batch that'll swing us back again. So my sources are urging patience on that front. But I will also say that there does seem to be a difference between how Mark Kelly, who's the Senate candidate in this race, the Democrat, is doing versus how Joe Biden is doing. My Republican and Democratic sources are expecting that Kelly's going to do better than Joe Biden. And I think the big question mark right now is what is the impact of the Hispanic vote in Arizona? We obviously have talked a lot about the unique qualities of the Cuban American community, the Venezuelan American community.
Y'all, I want to check another news source. Y'all know I do this. Let's check another news source.
With 67% of the vote to Maria.
Let's check another news source. Selection. Refresh. Let's see what Yahoo Finance is talking about. Oh, they're getting the ballots in Ohio. Get those ballots, baby.
Tonight
Get those ballots.
John Carl, we know there are national trends at play here, but Arizona has been a deep red state. But is what typical sale politics is local, as well. John McCain, the late Senator John McCain,
Let's do it, Biden. Let's do it.
Joe Biden, Jeff Flake, former senator from Arizona.
Joe Biden, Jeff Flake, former senator from Arizona, Republican conservative, endorsed Joe Biden. They both endorsed him.
Wow, Republican conservative endorsed Joe Biden. Wow.
The flag down to half staff when McCain died. None of that played well in Arizona. But I do want to have another comment on Arizona. Arizona is the reverse of what I was saying about Pennsylvania and Michigan. Arizona is where they're counting. They've been counting the early vote for weeks. So as the day-in vote comes in, I expect Arizona to get a lot closer. And I think Governor Christie made an important point here. This is going to be a long night, and we're going to be a long week. It could be a long week. We're going to need patience. I don't see Joe Biden running away with any any of those states in the Sun Belt. We'll see what happens in Arizona, but we're going to be waiting on Pennsylvania. We may be waiting on Michigan and Wisconsin.
George, go ahead.
One interesting thing from Michigan Republican leadership that just came in the Senate race. In the vote by mail that's been counted so far, and it's about 25% overall counted. Senator Peters is winning by about 20 points in the vote by mail. But on the election day voting, John James is winning by 22 points. So what they're looking at least in the first 25% of the vote, is that it's going to be a very close Senate race in Michigan. We don't know yet what will happen, but there's not a blowout there, and it's doing exactly what John was talking about in Arizona. You know, it's splitting very heavy Democrat on the vote by mail, but very heavy Republican, 22 points on voting today.
The Arizona, I just got a report from the Biden campaign, the Arizona vote by mail.
Hey, Centel. Hey, Irish Spirit. Yes, go Biden.
They got a 220,000 margin.
Okay, let's go to
Yes.
then and take a look.
Hey, Centel, baby. Tonight's the night.
Show what happens if the state of Arizona red in 2016 goes to blue in 2020.
And again, we're going to give Trump Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, where he's probably the favorite at this point.
But again, if Biden wins Arizona, then he's going to shoot up to, I think, around 70-some% here. It's not as important for him as Pennsylvania. It's not a Midwestern state. Actually, more than that, 75%. But, you know, Trump has to hit, like I said, all his marks. And Arizona is one where he would much prefer to have one.
Okay, Nate Silver, thanks very much. Coming up at 10:15 here in News, we'll take another quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to
I hope y'all are rolling your your herbals. You have your herbal refreshments, as QB would say, on deck, because again, this is going to be a long night. I mean, we have to go between different news sources. You know what I'm saying? To get that's just how I like to do coverage. Plus, I've got different news sources up on my TV right now. So let's just keep it going here. Let's see. Let's go with NBC at this point. Let's go with NBC. Come on, Biden. Come on, Biden. They might just be showing the states as he wins them. So, okay, that's good to know. Let's go to USA Today. Let's see what they're saying. I like commentary. All right, let's just check this out for a minute. Oh, I feel you, baby. I feel you. Yes. I hate the way Georgia's looking too. It looks like it's going to go red. But they're still voting in Cali, but Biden's going to get Cali. Yeah, roll up. What concerns me, guys? What concerns me? Hold on. Is people that are standing outside the polls intimidating others. You know what I mean? Totally intimidating others. A lot of Trumpsters are doing that. So let's, they better be. To me, I feel the tension. If Donald Trump loses, they're going to be pissed. They are going to be crying just like we were when he won. Come on, Biden, man. You can do this. Bunch of idiots. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let's see here.
Not a lot of rural remaining vote that you sit there and say, okay.
Does have a lead in air.
We now have 2 vaccine trials on hold. Should people be concerned?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
As we learn a bit more, the plot thickens. Let's show you what's happening now in North Carolina. That's moved to the too close to call category. Too close to call.
All right, and let's go to Arizona, which just unloaded a bunch of votes, and we are saying it's too early to call, but Vice President Biden does have a lead in Arizona at this hour, which brings us to Chuck Todd and his maps.
Yeah, let's take a look at what we're looking at Arizona, and the numbers coming in very quickly. And as you can see, this is why we have him leading. He's got a 9-point lead. Look, he's got a 200,000 vote advantage, and we expect there's 800,000 votes left. That's a lot. Look at how quickly these numbers start to update themselves. The point is that he's got to make up 200,000. There's 800,000 left. You can do that math, but Trump's got to he's got to win a big chunk of the remaining vote to pull this off, which is why we classify that as Biden leading. And just go back to Maricopa. It's a 9-point. It's a 9-point gap. That's not something you can make up. Hope in the rural counties.
What about Liliana? I would never go to Fox News. I promise.
80%, and let's see how Biden
Except to watch them whine and cry when they
lose. Right now, it's
lose.
running 9 points ahead of her. She won it because it's always a Democratic county. It usually is a Democratic leaning county. But look, if we were seeing this Latino vote helping Trump, it would show up in Pima County, and we're not seeing that there.
Thank
and so
God.
this is a reminder that it doesn't, again, not all Latino votes are the same when you're trying to compare them, particularly if you're in the Southeast versus the Southwest. So look, Arizona, this is the first Sun Belt state that you sit there and you're like, okay, and there's not a lot of rural remaining vote that you sit there and say, okay, we're going to see the same thing that we've seen with Trump in Ohio and North Carolina, that as that rural vote comes in, it starts to load up. Let's take a look at North Carolina. Remember I told you, I said, one of the things you're going to see, we're going to get these
Wow, North
straggling
Carolina
rural
could go
counties
blue,
that will add to his
maybe?
number, but that there was still some room to grow in the big blue counties. There's still a lot of vote in Wake County, 16% of the vote. This is that's a lot of voters that are left. And this has obviously been a huge Biden county. You look in Mecklenburg, not much left there, obviously, just 94% are in. Guilford, this is Greensboro, still a decent chunk of vote here. And then everywhere, Trump's strength is like a little bit everywhere. And that's the thing. I go back, I'll tell you, this rural African-American turnout is just and I just want to show you here where Trump is overperforming Robeson County. This is where he is able, he's adding to his numbers. We don't see this in some of these
places. Is that African American voters not turning out?
This is not turning out.
Or because the president has made an effort to attract African Americans?
Look, we're not seeing enough evidence there. This to me looks more like not turning out.
Okay.
On that front than it does anything else.
That's disappointing.
It's basically Biden's number.
That's disappointing.
Not that different, 95% in. So you've seen in other places where there's some huge Biden overperformance here. These border counties along South Carolina are going to be, if Biden comes up short, I would argue that's where he's going to find the votes that he should have gotten in order to get this, in order to make North Carolina happen.
Okay.
Yeah, Minnesota. Let me quickly ask you about Minnesota. Jason Miller came on and suggested that the Trump folks feel good about Minnesota.
Look, they talk. We'll see. I mean, we only have about a third of the vote in, and just so you see, this is election day vote. So it's let's look at some of the big. I mean, look, if Biden's got a big lead right now because Hennepin County, that's Minneapolis, and we've got most of the vote in. So yeah, as the rural counties come in, this state's likely to get closer. It was a 3-point race last time. We'll see. Okay, we'll see. I've always been a bit of a skeptic for the Trump campaign to get over the top in Minnesota. But again, it does. Minnesota's a state that is certainly trending long term towards the Republicans.
Yeah, and the Trump campaign certainly visited Minnesota many times and made an effort there. We've had two tales of that. Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota said the Democrats will hold. Jason Miller of the Trump campaign says
all in the same half hour.
There's an important Democratic Senate seat there.
Yes, there is. So we'll check in, and there's a lot of Senate races. In fact, a hot one out in Montana, Andrew was just reminding me of. We'll check in on that one as well. Take a break right here. We continue with our Decision 2020 election night coverage right after this break.
Correspondent for The Nation, great friend of the show, John Nichols. Great to see you, John.
Good to see you, John.
Honored to be with you both.
Yeah.
All right. What are you seeing so far in your neck of the woods there in Wisconsin, not to mention Michigan, Ohio, too, and Pennsylvania?
Well, first off, I'm seeing a lot closer race than I think a lot of the pundits were proposing even this morning. And it's true in the upper Midwest as well. Because remember, the polling going in showed that Wisconsin looked like a pretty easy win. I think Biden can still win Wisconsin, but it is not going to be that easy. Michigan looks, when I'm looking what's out, what's in, I think Michigan is still doable, quite doable probably for Biden. When you get over to Pennsylvania, I think Pennsylvania is just what we talked about. It's a tight race, and I don't think we know yet exactly where it's going. And frankly, I think that Ohio it looks to be slipping away. So I think Ohio, which early in the evening looked like it was going to be a potential, now you're looking at pretty substantial Trump lead there. It's going to be very hard to make up. Where I'll tell you is we go right back to where we were 4 years ago, that you have these three states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, that are the possible states, and they are all still possible. But the one variation here is you maybe can lose one of them if you get Arizona, which you were just talking about. So a lot's in play. Here's one thing I will tell you, burrowing deep into Wisconsin, which is considered to be the swingiest of the swing states by a lot of people. In Wisconsin, we're still very early on, but there's some encouraging numbers that don't necessarily show up on the top line, but when you dig in. In Dane County, which is Madison, it's the big liberal vote generator. Hillary Clinton got an astronomical vote in 2016. She got 70% of the vote. Right now, Joe Biden is getting 77% of the vote.
Wow.
He substantially increased his percentage, and it looks like City of Madison is going to, by a reasonable number, exceed its 2016 vote. So the liberal area is delivering a little more. Also, if you go into the Milwaukee suburbs, and this is a big deal, The Milwaukee suburbs are the great kind of vote generator for the Republicans. I'll give you one county, that's Ozaukee County. Ozaukee County in 2016 gave Hillary Clinton only about 36% of the vote. Tonight, Joe Biden's running at about 45% of the vote there. There's still votes out, but he appears to be doing substantially better. When you put those two pieces together, Madison, the big liberal vote generator, giving a better Biden vote, some of these suburban counties apparently giving a little lesser Trump vote, the possibility for winning Wisconsin is clearly there.
So that's really interesting there, John. And I think one of the things I'd like you to break down further is extrapolate this out to both Wisconsin and, Michigan and Pennsylvania. Obviously, only one of these things really has to go right for Trump, and then we can see something different. If you were to put on the contrarian case and say, actually, Trump should be feeling pretty good about the state, where would you point to and elsewhere? And then same thing for Joe Biden.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. Look, if you're going to do the feel good for Trump, it is to look in northern Wisconsin. And northern Wisconsin was a historically pretty populist area. It leaned maybe a little bit Republican, but not overwhelmingly, and a Democrat could do well. Up in northern Wisconsin, you are seeing very, very good numbers for Donald Trump. And so he's holding his own. He's also posting some reasonably good numbers in the southwestern part of the state. And those are areas where Democrats, kind of need to close the gap. And so I can look there and see some numbers that I think are, I apologize, I have a phone ringing here.
All good. It's a busy night.
When I look over there, I see numbers that are, Trump's holding his rural base pretty well, maybe even running a little better out there. And I think I've seen some of the similar things in Michigan. Pennsylvania, we still are waiting to get a little more, get a better picture. But I tell you right now, this is bottom line, and I think we talked about it about a week ago. This Biden campaign did not go deep on its progressive populist labor message.
Yes.
And these are working class areas. And in fact, one of the things that people don't recognize is that we have a multicultural or multiracial, multi-ethnic working class. And
might be able to take back in 2020, but it was not to be. Joe Biden will win the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4 electoral votes, but Donald Trump will hold on to Louisiana, and it's 8 electoral votes. No surprise there. Blue state stays blue, red state stays red. So let's take another look at those key states up in the northern tier of the country: Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, the so-called blue wall. Right now, that's where things stand. Michigan with 33% of the vote in, Donald Trump has a lead. Wisconsin, 35% of the vote in, Donald Trump has a lead. Pennsylvania, 31% of the vote in, Donald Trump has a lead. John Karl, the question there is that a red mirage or is something different happening here?
I mean, in all of these states, first of all, they're going to take time to get final results. All of these states are states that do not process mail-in vote as it comes in, which is the opposite of what we see in Arizona, the opposite of what we see in Florida. So we always knew there was going to be a bit of a red mirage factor here. As they open up those ballots, as they process that, those are going to be more Democratic votes. Those numbers will change. The question is, how much will they change?
Okay, that's an important point right there. I want to come to Pennsylvania in a minute, but right now we're just getting some results in from the state of Nebraska, and Donald Trump has won not all of the votes yet in the state of Nebraska, but he has won 3 of the 5 votes in the state of Nebraska. That's the overall state vote. Nebraska, one of those states that splits their electoral votes also among congressional districts. Tom Llamas, why don't you explain that?
Yeah, okay, so let's take a look at Nebraska right now and follow along with us because it gets a little complicated. As George mentioned, Nebraska splits its electoral votes. Here's the beautiful state of Nebraska right here. We're going to show you 2 counties right here. This is Sarpy, a conservative county that makes up the 2nd congressional district. Donald Trump should be on top right now, and he's not. He won this county 4 years ago, and that's good news for Joe Biden because just above this is Douglas County, and it's like the numbers are reversed here, George. Hillary Clinton won this 4 years ago. This is Omaha right here, right? And Democrats usually always win this area, even though Trump pulled off the win in the congressional district 4 years ago. It was because of that other county. The numbers are inverted right now. Still very, very close here. To give you an idea of the size of this county, it's essentially like this. It is minuscule. But if the race were to come down, and I don't want to say it, but you know what it is, if it were to come down to 269, whoever won that one county, that tiny little county, Nebraska, those would be the most important Americans right now on the planet.
That turns it into a 270, 268. We also have.
Something I want to say to them right now.
I can't believe you already have their number.
Hello, can you hear me there?
I don't. You should have their number. That's malpractice, bro.
I have their emails.
We do have another state to call right now. The state of Utah is going to go to Donald Trump. Again, not much of a surprise right there. Donald Trump is going to win the state of Utah, and it's 6 electoral votes. Even though that's the home of Mitt Romney, of course, is the only Republican senator who voted to convict Donald Trump in the impeachment trial. Let's go back now to the state of Pennsylvania. David Muir, you had some exit polls from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's really interesting. This is just to pick up what John Carl was saying, is that these blue wall states are going to take days possibly for us to find out who actually one of these states. The Secretary of State in Pennsylvania warned us in the last couple of days that it could take till the end of the week until we know Pennsylvania. But there are some numbers here that I would think the Biden campaign would be very happy with. When you take a look at suburban voters in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump with a small edge there, according to the exit polls, 2 points ahead of Biden. But when you remember that he was 8 points ahead in the final tally over Hillary Clinton, 2 points is an improvement for Joe Biden. And you can see where he got the improvement from. When you break it down, Donald Trump still has overwhelmingly done well with men in the suburbs, but look at this among women. This is where the gender gap presents itself. In Pennsylvania, at least, we've seen this in other states too coming in, 53% of suburban women going with Joe Biden. One other thing here that was really interesting is the independent vote coming in from Pennsylvania. According to the exit polls, obviously, and these are all still preliminary, 53% of independents are going with Joe Biden. That's a flip from 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Donald Trump won independents in Pennsylvania, 48-41. Now Biden ahead by, what is that, almost 10 points in Pennsylvania.
According to the exit polls, we'll see if it holds up as the real results come in right now. We want to take another look at the state of Minnesota as well. Again, that was a state that President Trump had hoped he might be able to flip, like the state of New Hampshire. Right now, 36% of the expected vote is in, and it appears that Joe Biden has a big lead. Let's go back to Alex Perez in Minnesota.
Yeah, George, and what we're seeing is that Joe Biden has a huge lead in Hennepin County, the most populous county here in Minnesota. We're seeing 93% of the vote coming in from Hennepin County, about 70% of that vote right now going to Joe Biden. Those are the kinds of numbers that Democrats want to see here in Minnesota. You know, Obama, there were 19 counties that Obama won that Hillary lost to Trump back in 2016. And the Democrats are hoping they're going to be able to win back those so-called pivot counties. Now, the important vote, the rural areas, the Iron Range, the other part of the state, we still don't know the exact numbers from that area. That part of the state typically looks better for Republicans, typically went for Trump. So we will have to wait a little bit later in the evening to figure out those numbers. But right now, Hennepin County, Ramsey County, the populous areas of this state looking good for the Biden campaign. George.
Alex Perez, thanks very much. Let's take another look at North Carolina right now. We've got the state of North Carolina with 89% of the expected vote in. It's a very close race right now. Donald Trump at 50. Joe Biden at 49. Tom Yamas.
Yeah, so we have just one county that we have no data on right now in North Carolina. The race is very, very close. We're looking at a spread of about 40,000 votes. This is Granville County right here. This is a swing county. President Trump won it back for Republicans 4 years ago. There's about 15,000 votes for Republicans, 15 to 20,000 votes. That could affect the score. I mean, this is such a close race. This was a state that President Trump outright won 4 years ago, and yet right now it's a nail biter. A lot of the swing counties, President Trump has been able to hold on, especially in the southern part of the state on the border of South Carolina. But Charlotte, this is Mecklenburg County. This is where they wanted to hold the RNC, Republicans, hopefully to drive out some voters there later on in the year. That didn't happen because of COVID. Joe Biden's doing exactly what he has to do here. He's driving up the votes. So to win in North Carolina for Joe Biden, he's going to have to do that there and in Wake County as well. We're still waiting for some of the vote in there, but you can see Joe Biden is building on that Hillary Clinton lead in those counties. If he can keep doing that, there might still be enough vote out there. But President Trump right now on top with about 40,000 votes.
Byron Pitts, what are you hearing in Raleigh?
Well, George, I can tell you that at this point, the Democrats in the state are getting nervous. The expectation was that they knew they would have an early lead, but they thought it would be big enough that they could hold off a Republican surge. They were looking for a double-digit lead when the numbers came out, and it was only 9 points. And since that time, steadily as each half hour has passed, you've seen the President Trump gain ground, and eventually he's taken the lead. And the sense is that the Democrats may be running out of time. And George, it's still early, right? I mean, North Carolina could go either way. But at this point, one of the things that we can see is that hard work can outwork money. In this state, for instance, in the Senate race, the Democrat outspent the Republican 2-1. And in TV advertising, the Trump campaign spent in TV and radio ads. The Trump and the RNC spent $41 million. Biden and the DNC spent $56 million. And that cash difference at this point doesn't seem to be a sufficient difference for the Democrats in a state in which they felt good going into the night that they might have a comfortable lead that they could hold on to. But to this point, the Republican strategy to start close and then finish strong seems to be the direction that we're going in, George.
Byron Pitts, thanks very much. We have another call to make, another projection to make in the state of Kansas. Donald Trump is going to win the state of Kansas. Again, that's a strong red state, has always been. 6 electoral votes. He won by 21 points back in 2016. Donald Trump will win again. I want to bring in Senator Chris Coons now, Senator of Delaware, close friend and advisor to Joe Biden. It looks like we're in for a very long night, Senator Coons, maybe even several days of this to go on. Is this really going as you expected tonight?
Well, George, we had a record early turnout. 100 million Americans voted early, whether in person or by mail. And as we're hearing from all over the country, we had record turnout in many states. So I'm optimistic. When there's record turnout, often that means Democrats win. And I'm hopeful that Joe still has several paths to 270 and towards being our next president. I think his message all along that he and Kamala Harris can bring our country together, can move us out of this deadly pandemic and the mess that Donald Trump's bungled mishandling of the pandemic has gotten us into, has connected with voters and moved people to the polls. I've been checking in with local elected officials, colleagues in the Senate, the labor leaders in several states, and I'm still optimistic about a number of key states that haven't come in yet.
But so, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more. You say he still has several paths. It looks like Donald Trump, we have not projected yet, but is on track in Florida towards a win. That was a must win for him. Are we really heading back to the point where Joe Biden has to win all those 3 key blue wall states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, still holding out hope also in Arizona?
Arizona, I'm optimistic about, given what I'm hearing from a number of elected officials and local organizers there. And I think that means there's several different paths. It doesn't all come down to Pennsylvania. But I'll remind you, George, part of why Joe was a great candidate from the outset is he's someone who was born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, has always been close to the people of Pennsylvania, and I think has run a terrific race in Pennsylvania, as well as in Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona. Those are states I'm optimistic about this evening.
Senator Coons, you still think we're going to hear from Vice President Biden tonight?
I'm hopeful, but not certain. You know, I think we need to remember that elections aren't called on election night. They may get projections from the news, but in the end, elections in the United States are decided by states and counties, and it's often days after election night when all the votes are counted. And given that we had 100 million cast early by mail and in person, we need to make sure every vote is counted before we ultimately reach a decision about this election.
And an important reminder, no question about that, Senator Coons. Thanks very much for your time tonight. I want to go back to Cecilia Vega at the White House. What more are you picking up now, Cecilia, about whether or not President Trump will speak?
Actually, we just asked an aide when the president will speak, and we were told that they didn't know. We are sort of relying on what Kellyanne Conway told you at the beginning of the evening, that he will, in fact, address the nation at some point. I got to say, I'd seen some photos from some photographer friends of mine here, colleagues in the White House who were in the room where the president's supporters are gathering in the East Room of the White House, and it looks very much like it is a room where he will speak. There is a podium there are teleprompters up. So I would not be surprised if we hear from him at some night. And just in terms of a quick mood check, George, they've got, again, these 2 war rooms here on the grounds of the White House where aides and campaign staffers are feverishly monitoring these returns coming in. We've been told that the president has been going between the residence and these rooms and touching base regularly with aides. So they're keeping him up to speed on that front. But the mood check here is they're feeling extremely confident by what they're seeing. Those North Carolina numbers they like very much, and that's giving them some more confidence in states like Arizona and Nevada as we watch those numbers rolling over the course of the evening.
Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. ABC News can now project the Democrats are going to retain the House of Representatives. And not a surprise here. Democrats went into the night with a healthy margin in the House, but we can now say the Democrats will keep that margin. Mary Bruce, that means likely that Nancy Pelosi, who I think had not spoken to President Trump in over a year, will return as Speaker.
That certainly does seem to be the case, George. We know that they have had this incredibly fraught relationship. There is still that fraught relationship continuing. I think specifically about the fight over COVID relief, which continues to be ongoing, even given the state of this pandemic. The two sides have not been able to come together and pass a COVID relief bill in these last recent weeks. It seems that certainly is not going to happen anytime soon. And yet Nancy Pelosi will continue. If Donald Trump continues to be president, Nancy Pelosi will continue to be his foe on Capitol Hill.
Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks very much. Take one more look at the board here. 95 electoral votes for Donald Trump right now, 93 for Joe Biden. That is because we have just added the state of Kansas for President Trump as well. And Terry, as we look at that 95 to 93 at 1044 on the East Coast, 270 winners. As I said, it looks like we're doing a little bit of a replay right now of 2016 with all those big battleground states still out there. America about as divided as ever. Terry Moran?
Yes, I'm sorry, George, I was looking at something else. But it does look that way, and it looks like it comes as a surprise to Democrats who thought they had the wind in their sails. But it turns out, I think one of the reasons the polls have been so battered is that Donald Trump represents a realignment. The pollsters don't understand a post-Donald Trump America, it seems to me. He wasn't a Republican, he was a nationalist. And that is something that this country hasn't seen. Other countries have. We've seen nationalists seize the loyalty of people who are looking for a different economy, a different culture than the Western cultures are trending, and they keep returning populist nationalists to power. Donald Trump is that person. I think it does come as a surprise, certainly to pollsters and to many Democrats as well. There's a lot of things, however this race comes out, for Democrats to do when it comes to the white working class and the working class among many of the minorities as well.
Wait a minute. We may have some breaking news. Hold on, guys. Wow. Okay. Hold up. So, just a little breakaway from all of this election coverage. Okay. We may have a little bit of breaking news, and I will be very glad if this is true, what I'm hearing right now. I'm getting word from someone that Mona Simone the Brain has returned to YouTube. Let's go see, is Mona Simone reactivated her channel? And wow, yes, she has. One video, she privated all her others, I guess, and Mona Simone is back, y'all. Hold up a sec. Check it out. Shit, she's live right now covering the presidential election, y'all. Let's go in there and say hi to her.
To me, I wonder
Let's go in there and say hi.
Just to get a reaction or around.
Hold on, let me minimize this.
You know, like sometimes I
Let's
wonder
go
if
say
people
hi to
just
Mona.
doing that or saying certain things to be asked.
Hold on.
And so what Ming is
Wow.
saying that under the Obama administration, are you saying, Ming, that you didn't use any clients or no clients?
I'm saying, hey, Mona Simone the Brain, it's the Leaky family. We are live right now announcing you are back.
As far as your business is concerned. Hey, Ms. Groovy.
Hey,
I'm dropping
salute
the
to
link.
the
So right now,
mods.
guys, You're welcome to come up to talk about the changes that you've experienced from the Obama administration going into the Trump administration. Now, me personally, I haven't
Grace.
experienced any
No,
direct
quite a
impact
few people
on
here,
my life
y'all.
during the Trump administration from the Obama administration. It's been pretty much the same for me. But as me pointed out, it's different. It's been different for her. Hey, Leaky.
Hey, Leaky.
Thank you so much, Leaky. Come back over.
I just
Come back over. Nah, they come
I
in and
crashed
they're
your
like,
chat,
"Nah, I'm good."
Mona.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up.
That's messed up.
That's totally messed up.
We came to crash your live stream
And I
chat.
feel you on that. And I'm dropping the link if anybody wants to come up. I'm following the campaign from another device as well. Just trying to see where we are. 131.
It's fun to crash other people's chats.
Biden is still
Just to have fun with them.
Okay.
Hold on, let me
Lisa,
make it
your
bigger so y'all can
president
see.
is gonna come up. I'm very interested to hear me casually speak about what she's endured. You know, we don't support racism of any kind. Do we think that all Trump supporters are racist? No, not at all.
Look, Mona Simone on the
However,
Cash App.
racism
Y'all
does
know
exist.
she. You
Likewise,
can't miss Mona
racism
Simone on
exists.
that. Mona
And
Simone on
if
the
you've
Cash
experienced
App.
that and want to give a contrast to my commentary, go ahead. Come on up and go ahead, because I haven't experienced it, so I'd love to hear about it. They've gotten really bold, the racism and killing us without mercy. Now, of course, as usual, yes, Black people have still been
All right, I
dying
just left her a
at the
message.
hands of cops unjustly, so it seems,
She should
over the
see
last
it.
few years, as well as the last 8 years. That didn't stop with Obama in the office.
Check
and
her
all the
out.
people still
She's
being
back.
murdered
She's talking
when
about
Obama
some
was in
good
office. One
shit. The
thing that I will
presidential
say
election.
that
Check
was
it
different
out.
was Obama would go to these cities or these
Y'all,
states
look
where there
how
had been
YouTube is
a weapon
classifying all
injustice
of our
had occurred.
videos.
Whereas for most of
Anything
Trump's
that has
administration
election
or
in it.
presidency, he seemed to largely ignore the controversy of the racism when it came to cops killing
Ah,
minority
there's
members.
Heidi.
You can tell me how you guys feel about that. Chat says they're ecstatic. Thank you, Lee Q. You'll be back. Okay, see you in a little bit. Your screen just updated. Lori said 118, Cheetah 105. Thank you, Lori. Lori, for the time that you're here, could you update me? And that way, if you can update me when you can, I'll keep an eye on the screen. Hey, Heidi. Heidi, that
All right, y'all. Let me get back to this here. All right,
so,
back to what we were doing. It just, when I seen that that Mona was live. Okay, we've got some updates. So when I seen that Mona was live, I was like, wow, wait a minute. Because we did just have a discussion on this channel about, you know, bullying and how Mona Simone felt like she had to leave YouTube because some people just can't let shit die, you know? Even if the woman did do everything that you say that she did, like, when does it ever end? You know, even if she did every single thing that you say that she did, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to crucify her to a cross? Like, what do you want? Do you want to drip blood from her veins? Like, seriously, get the fuck over the shit. Okay, back to the election coverage. Give me a sec here. And plus, only with Mona can I go and just totally crash her chat like that. Okay, y'all, let's get back into the saddle here. So let's check out and see what NBC News is talking about.
Just assigned to Chuck Todd. Nebraska, projected winner of 3 of 5
I see you in
votes.
one.
Do I have that right? That's what it
right
says.
now, right.
Yes.
Well,
You're awaiting the congressional district.
well, there's 2, right? So it sounds like we're not ready to call the first either, which would be Lincoln, but that's
Y'all, Chuck
that's
Todd.
gonna probably be Republican, but Omaha.
That is
the 2nd congressional district.
Chuck Todd is who
Polls
they
have
call
indicated that
Sleepy
Joe
Eye
Biden
Todd.
had a
That's who
pretty,
Donald
a
Trump
lead there
named
that looked
Sleepy
like
Eye Todd.
his leads in
Or
Wisconsin
Sleepy
and
Eye
Michigan
Chuck or
and
something like that. He
8
gave him a
point
real
range.
messed up nickname.
But you had the actual congressional race itself. The former Democratic congressman endorsed the incumbent Republican congressman over the Democratic nominee. So there's a lot of potential split ticketing. There's I don't think anything is a slam dunk there for the Democrats nabbing one electoral vote. And hey, We know every electoral vote counts. And if you've ever seen those 269 scenarios, this is why Nebraska 2 and Maine 2, and by the way, we have a long way to go in Maine getting their vote. Some of this vote is same day vote. We don't have some of the mail-in vote.
I see you turned in extra credit. Andrea, what are you watching in these Senate races we just talked about?
Well, I'm looking at Georgia, and where you've got 2 Senate races, and now you've got Reverend
I'm
Raphael
gonna
Warnock,
test something,
who
actually.
just had an explosion of support, and he's in the runoff now against Kelly Loeffler, who is the incumbent, the appointed incumbent. That really is a much better looking race for him in the runoff. That'll be January 6th because Doug Collins, the strong Trump supporting House member from, you remember, House Judiciary, who was so strong during the impeachment hearings, a really, really strong Republican. He's had a controversial record, very outspoken against Ruth Bader Ginsburg, talking about QAnon. So he is not in that runoff. And Reverend Warnock, who comes from the Reverend Martin Luther King's church, has just had a really big rise to get into that runoff. The second race is Ossoff.
Yeah, well, can I just say the importance of Warnock in this runoff? So there have been 2 Senate runoffs this century, or two Senate runoffs since Andrew and I have been covering Senate in Georgia, okay? Each time the Democratic nominee was a white nominee. They've not had a compelling African-American nominee in one of these runoffs in Georgia. And before, it had just, the Democrats ended up just sort of fading at the end. Warnock, and he's not just, this is the pastor at MLK's church. It is one of those things that both Senate seats, if they end up in runoffs, that is a huge value add for the Democrats. And I know I've talked to some Senate Republicans who worry about that nightmare scenario of Warnock helping to drive up.
This is where Stacey Abrams, the work she has done over a number of years, is really, at least in this Senate race, paid off. We have to see what happens with
let's see what the whole Georgia ball of wax looks like before we give out credit yet.
David Perdue is the incumbent against Ossoff, John Ossoff, and that remains to be seen.
We'll take a short break and be back with more. We've got poll closings at the top of the hour in 4 states with a total of 78 electoral votes, including Big Blue California. Stay with us.
You ready to go to work?
I'm so ready to go to work. She's Joe Biden's choice to be next in line. But who is Kamala Harris? Join me, Joy Reid, as I explore her life's journey from Oakland to Washington on my 6-part podcast, Kamala Next in Line. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts.
Washington feels more chaotic than ever. It's my job to ask the tough questions, left and right, and help you make sense of it all. Washington feels more chaotic than ever. It's my job to ask the tough questions, left and right, and help you make sense of it all.
You ready to go to work?
I'm so ready to go to work. She's Joe Biden's choice to be next in line. But who is Kamala Harris? Join me, Joy Reid, as I explore her life's journey from Oakland to Washington on my 6-part podcast, Kamala Next in Line. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News
All right, y'all, let's
President Trump and Joe Biden hit the trail center of this.
Sorry, I got caught up doing
coronavirus
something in
story.
Streamlabs.
The Battleground Blitz.
I got caught up doing
one of
something
his
in
fiercest
Streamlabs.
foes to being his absolute top ally on the Hill. I can tell you, anyone who covers Capitol Hill knows in Washington, if you want to know what the president is thinking, you go and find Lindsey Graham in the basement of the Capitol. And he is not hard to find because often it works the other way around, too. If he wants the president to know what's happening on the Hill, he often comes and finds us to telegraph through the media. It has been just a remarkable run for Lindsey Graham. And I think it was one of the reasons, of course, why you saw Jamie Harrison raising so much money. Lindsey Graham was pummeled in this race by ads for his flip-flopping on his positions. And when it comes to the president, Jamie Harrison raising that astounding $57 million. That is presidential level money, but ultimately not enough. Lindsey Graham, it appears, will continue to be the president's top ally, closest friend on Capitol Hill.
Mary Bruce, thanks very much. Chris Christie, now the Senate battle is going to come down to North Carolina, Iowa, and Maine.
Yeah, and the Republicans have to win 2 of the 3 there. And I think they're in good shape to do it. I continue to hear from North Carolina Republican leadership. They're
Shows
getting
up
more and
here.
more confident
Okay.
as the night goes on that Tom Tillis is going to
Sorry,
win the
y'all,
mayoral
doing a
race
little
there,
testing.
and that the president will win the electoral votes. And in Iowa, spoke to a couple of Republican leaders there who think that Joni Ernst is going to be in good shape tonight.
We are going to keep an eye on it. We're going to be back in just a minute. Some of our stations are going to go to late local news right now, but our election coverage continues in just a moment.
Yeah, man. I mean, how are we going to know? It is going to be a long next few days, just like it's been a long freaking four last
Welcome
year.
to Disney Plus.
Oh, my Lord.
Now, but our election coverage continues in just a moment.
For Senator Graham's positioning on the nomination of a Supreme Court justice during a election year, but he will hang on, the projected winner in South Carolina. Now to that three-way race we were talking about in Georgia. This will advance to a runoff on January 5th.
Let's go to Casey Hunt, who covers Capitol Hill. Casey's Lindsey Graham. He fought hard for it, but he holds on.
He really did fight hard, Savannah, and his challenger, Jamie Harrison, raised more money than any candidate ever in a race that was not for president of the United States. Just
Wow.
a huge amount of money. And so that's what Lindsey Graham was up against in what was a difficult, he felt,
Let's go to Casey Hunt, who covers Capitol Hill. Casey's Lindsey Graham. He fought hard for it, but he holds on.
The processing, the counting of votes takes a while. All right, the indefatigable Caitlin Huey Burns for us. Caitlin, thanks to you and your team for everything. It's been spectacular coverage all campaign season long. Thank you so much. Up next, it's the CBS
You're
News
awesome
special
in
report,
one. Thank
America
you.
Decides. You're streaming CBS.
Yeah,
CBS
I'm
News,
seeing that.
always on.
I am seeing that. So Trump's getting a little bit of a catch up here. And this is live right here.
Welcome back to CBS News. Election night headquarters. It's coming up on 11 o'clock in the east, 8 o'clock in the west. The polls are closing in four western states, including
Now it's going to start getting interesting. Now here comes the votes from the states we know they're going to get type thing.
President Trump has won these states: Indiana, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Arkansas, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alabama, South Carolina, and Utah. Joe Biden has won Vermont, Delaware, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, Colorado, New Hampshire, Illinois, plus Washington, D.C.
Oh shit, he just got California, Oregon, and Washington. That took him to 168.
Leaning toward President Trump.
He needs
We expect
270.
a tight race, and we're just getting started.
And sorry, I didn't even mean to cuss then. Let's see what they have to say, y'all.
CBS News can project that Joe Biden has won California and its 55 electoral votes. Also, the home state of Senator Kamala Harris, his running mate. Biden is also likely to win Oregon and Washington state. President Trump is likely to win Idaho. The electoral vote stands at Biden 168, President Trump 86. You need 270 to win the presidency. Well, the map finally has filled in, except for some of those notable nine states that we said in the beginning it would be all down to that. For folks at home who have opened up a caffeinated beverage or an alcoholic one. We're looking at those states. And the reason they are so close at this hour is because so many people turned out and we're waiting for some of the vote count to come in.
Right. And one of the storylines of the evening has been that the Democrats voted early and in great and big numbers. And then the president's voters came out on Election Day and voted in great, big numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the vote is quite close in North Carolina. And then in Georgia, it's also taken them a little while to get the votes in. And there's Gwinnett County has only got 17% of the vote in, which is not very much. So that's also part of a little bit of a slowness
Y'all,
there.
we gotta hope and
What's the
pray
difference
that
in
Biden
County?
gets North Carolina. Keep that in
suburban
mind.
Atlanta.
It's suburban Atlanta.
If
Okay,
Biden
just
gets
outside
North
of
Carolina,
Atlanta.
that's a big
It's
deal.
not-
We
I didn't know.
got
I
to
didn't know where
pray
it
he
was.
gets it.
Yeah.
It's the
Suburban
idea that
Atlanta,
that's
okay.
where a lot of the population
Exactly,
growth is, right
yeah.
around Atlanta. Let's take a wider aperture here. And Ed, I know you were talking to both campaigns, as I am as well, in between these breaks, emailing, and some people are wondering, well, if Biden can't win Florida, if it's getting close in North Carolina and Georgia, has this closed his path to the presidency? What are you hearing?
No, not necessarily. If you talk to Biden campaign aides right now, they remain hopeful that they can flip Arizona. Would be the first time that Democrats have won it since 1992. They also believe that they will ultimately prevail in Michigan and Wisconsin. But those are two of those big states with a lot of absentee ballots. They're going to take a little while to vote because of the pandemic and the fact that voting was kind of lopsided this year. A lot of it came early. If they don't get Florida, if they don't get Pennsylvania, there is still a path, they believe, but it involves a combination of Arizona and restoring the big blue wall in the upper Midwest. And right now in North Carolina, the Biden campaign says it all comes down to Wake County, North Carolina. There's just a small percentage left in one of that state's bigger counties. They're not quite sure whose vote it is to be had, but if it goes their way, they may just eke out a win in North Carolina. So look, this is the scenario that we knew could happen, that we'd be waiting for a while for big states to turn in their ballots. And for now, a lot of it rests on these remaining 7 of the 9 that we're tracking that aren't leaning in either direction.
So let's take a look then at the map, because Major Garrett is over there. If the Biden campaign is telling us they feel very good about Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania,
right?
Map that out for us.
Again, I always start this map in these scenarios with where the president ended in 2016, 306 electoral votes. We've got Arizona, a lean Biden. So let's put that in the category. We're going to assume for right now in this scenario, again, this is what the Trump campaign tells us and what is so far the numbers have played out. Let's say Florida, Georgia, North Carolina hold for the president, even though they might hold narrowly. So you take Arizona, that gets Joe Biden to 243. You put Wisconsin there, you put Michigan there, you put Pennsylvania there. That's more than enough. But you would need all 3 and Arizona. You take Pennsylvania out, it's 269. It's not nearly enough. So you have to have all 3 of those if you can't crack through in North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And the one thing I will say about Florida, the Trump campaign said to me yesterday, if we win Florida by more than 2%, that means our modeling will be solid there. And we believe that modeling will be solid in Georgia, North Carolina, and everywhere else. Well, they're on pace to do even better than that. And every election at the presidential level is about knowing your model, knowing your voters, and knowing what they're going to do. And at this hour, at least in these early states, Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida, the Trump modeling is holding up.
And isn't it entirely possible, Major, that Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the path to a Biden presidency, remain white or not called tonight because they're counting the vote so slowly?
Meaning not called, meaning they could be off the board in terms of allocations. That doesn't mean anyone is where they need to be. The president would go to 249, Joe Biden would be at 243, and it would be a waiting game.
And Margaret, you were reporting something about the city of Philadelphia, which is usually a Democratic stronghold, and the counting of ballots there.
Yes, and our David Becker, who we were consulting with earlier, has been speaking to officials that they expect a midnight update, but they have decided to hold off on counting mail-in ballots until tomorrow morning. So additional ballots there will be on hold. This was part of a plan. However, it's notable because it is such a substantial population center, and it is one of these states more broadly that we are waiting on. Nora, it's also interesting that the Trump campaign is sending out fundraising emails, according to our Nicole Skenga, saying they're not going to call the race. So they're setting the table to their supporters that somehow the reason we're not announcing decisions.
Hold on a second, guys. Nancy Pelosi is speaking live right now, apparently. Let's see if we can catch that. Hold on a second, please. Apparently, she is speaking live at this moment. I see her. So basically, here's the other really great thing is that with this election, Democrats retained control of the House. See, that's the other reason why you want to vote. Okay, so let's listen to Nancy Pelosi's speech here. I'm going to go ahead and it's only been a few minutes, so let's do this. Congratulations to the Democrats for retaining the House. This is, like I said, another reason why we should be, voting. It's not just for the president. We're talking about for our senators, our congressmen, our House of Representatives, our Supreme Court justices. All of that is getting voted on when you vote. It's not always about a president. As we await the presidential, outcome here. Okay, here we go.
Madam Chair, good evening.
Good evening.
I always thought she was such a pretty woman.
I can see you, but you can't see me. Thank you for joining us. I know that transportation is always challenging in this time of coronavirus, but thank you for joining us virtually here this evening so that I can praise you for retaining our House Democratic majority. Under your leadership, Madam Chair, we have held the House, and now after all the votes are counted, we'll see how much better we will do than that. We are in a situation where some of the states have just said we're not counting anymore until tomorrow morning. And of course, the West Coast has not chimed in yet. So there's more to come. Our race this time was all about healthcare. This was vote your health. We had that in the last election. Our For the People agenda was we're going to lower healthcare costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, preserving pre-existing conditions. It became the issue of the 2018 election under the leadership of the policy committee that that Madam Chair was a co-chair of then, carrying that message into this election because it is of concern to the American people. It is amplified by the coronavirus. So our purpose in this race was to win so that we could protect the Affordable Care Act and that we could crush the virus, that we could stop the spread of it, that we could reward our workers who risk their lives to save lives and now might be losing their jobs, and that we can put money in the pockets of the American people. So I'm very, very proud of the fact that tonight, relatively early, we're able to say that we have held the House. It is something quite spectacular because the people who helped us win were the people who have been affected by it. Thousands of those who have been diagnosed or members of their family diagnosed with a pre-existing condition have spoken out, have told their stories. And that was the most compelling argument of all. So again, that was our purpose. We have succeeded in that. Now we have to win the White House, and we're well on our way to doing that. But again, we're speaking to our friends in Virginia. Over 2 million votes have not been counted in Virginia yet. So we're waiting to see what that brings in and what that means for the presidential race. But I'm here just to sing the praises of our House Democrats and our candidates, not just in terms of numbers. It's not just about the quantity. It's about the quality of leadership that they provide for our country. It's about the fact that they are there in the Congress. We're all there for the people. And to have a strategic plan to be successful, to retain our control, to hold the House, actually, is how we say it. We couldn't be better served than by our chair, Cheri Bustos. And all of the pillars of winning an election, whether it's the mobilization, the grassroots level, even virtually, she has succeeded. Whether it's about messaging in a very disciplined way, she has succeeded. About amassing the financial resources, the money, the third M, she has broken all records. And through it all, she retained and commanded the respect of the House members and the confidence of all of our candidates. So with that, I want to acknowledge again Chair Cheri Bustos of Illinois. Madam Chair, I yield to you with an honor. Thank you.
All right, Speaker Pelosi, thank you so much for your kind words. And obviously your leadership of this caucus, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm joining you tonight from Moline, Illinois, which is my hometown. Moline is kind of the center of America. It's, people here, they take that literally and they work hard.
It's not something that you're going to get over until you get through it, and they don't want to disrupt their lives. And so they know someone who's died, but they were old or they were this. And what is really puzzling to me is that we are so willing to make old and disabled people kind of the victims here and then just accept it. And you're seeing that in these vote totals. You're seeing it in the behavior, especially in red states. They don't want to change their lives. They don't think that changing their lives will change the outcome of the coronavirus.
Heidi Heitkamp, thanks very much. Let's take another look at the state of Ohio right now. We've now got 85% of the expected vote in the state of Ohio. And Donald Trump now appears
Oh, thank you, Ghost, for telling me there was no sound.
State, Chris Christie, that's what you were hearing.
What they doing, Leak You? I'm about to go crazy. I know, baby. I know.
They said that as this progressed in the evening,
Let's just keep watching and let's pray that Biden gets North Carolina.
We're hearing the same thing in North Carolina, that both Tom Tillis is now leading by more than a point over Cal Cunningham, and the president is leading by just less than a point over Joe Biden in North Carolina. And that's been a steady progression through the evening to, chip away at that. And they feel very confident in North Carolina, again, that both those are going to go that the way Ohio has gone here for Trump and for Tillis in the Senate.
Let's pull up another look at North Carolina right now. If we can pull up the North Carolina map, we've got 95% of the expected vote in North Carolina. Very close race right now, only about 80,000, 70,000 votes.
North Carolina is a battleground state, and we really want Biden to win this state. It's 15 electoral college votes.
To win if he wants to pull off an upset here. We're looking at Mecklenburg County, the biggest county. This is the Charlotte area. Right now, Joe Biden overperforming. He's 3 points higher from where Hillary Clinton was just 4 years ago. Donald Trump slightly down in Mecklenburg, but that's 95% of the vote in. Not a whole lot more votes going to come out of there. Wake County, the same story. Look, Joe Biden is doing well. He's improved in these cities around states like North Carolina. Let me look at one more area real quick right here. This is Guilford County. This was a county that the Trump campaign thought maybe they could improve on. It's pretty much the same of where it was 4 years ago. But George, as I look at this map, it's pretty much the same. Joe Biden is running up the score in the cities, but around the rural counties, even some of the swing counties that he took from Democrats 4 years ago, he's on top and he's still winning. These counties down here on the border with South Carolina, Robson, this is one that we were taking a close look at. He's actually doing much better there. So in the rural areas, it looks like the Trump team has been able to drive out their voters.
Okay, Tom Llamas, thank you very much. We're going to take another quick break. We have a long night ahead. We'll be right back.
I've been quested to bring this one back to its kind.
You know this is no place for a child.
Wherever I go, he goes.
The Mandalorian, new season now streaming only on Disney Plus.
Hold on. You know, I hate these. I have premium, but shut up. I have YouTube Premium, but what's happening is these news agencies prepared for this. So they're literally inserting their own commercials. I kid you not.
Worth listening to. So if you like getting behind them,
So yeah, they're getting smart, man.
what
Their asses are getting smart. Like, look at that. Commercials on all of them.
Get ready for.
It's starting to come in
Here
a
we
little
go.
bit, but only about half. 282,000 ballots still outstanding. So we've got a long way to go, maybe in Georgia too.
Okay, we're going to continue to
Shout out
what's
to you,
happening in those
Ghost.
states.
You're in
More
the right
information
chat.
straight ahead as the votes are counted. We'll check back in with our correspondents live all across America. You're watching CBS News 2020. America Decides.
Arg, really? So YouTube money wasn't enough, right? Like the rest of us, when we're monetized, they have to go and insert commercials in their live shit. Can you believe this? Damn.
Biden. So Biden really narrowed it, picked up all that Gary Johnson
There we go.
like here. But Hillary Clinton lost by 9. And so I've noticed in a lot of areas you see that Joe Biden is improving on Hillary Clinton margins, but I'm seeing them at about 4 or 5 points. Dubuque County was one that we were really interested in because this is a county that Trump flipped very narrowly, and he arguably flipped it because Gary Johnson got 4%. And as you can see here, Joe Biden doing well. Dubuque County is a traditional Democratic county. A lot of union workers over here. This is where Donald Trump, though, overperformed.
Is this early vote or day of vote you're looking at?
This is a 50-50 right now.
Okay.
We're seeing in Iowa. They've mixed it up a little bit. It's slightly more early vote than same day vote. So look, Iowa's facing up to be fairly competitive, and keep an eye on this because the Senate race and this presidential race will be in sync. The two candidates will be off by a point at best.
Okay. All right.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware at Biden headquarters in Wilmington tonight. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. So walk me through it. So maybe you pick up Arizona, you lose Florida, maybe you lose Georgia, maybe you lose North Carolina. What's the likely or most the shortest path to 270 for Biden?
Well, Lester, as you just pointed out, there's several paths for Joe Biden to be elected our next president. But we have to remember, over 100 million Americans voted early, whether in person or by mail. And as Chuck was just pointing out, there are different rules in different states for whether they have already counted and are already reporting that early vote, or whether they're just beginning counting it and won't report it for several days. I'm hearing encouraging things about Ohio, about Arizona, about Iowa. So I think there still remain several paths for Joe Biden tonight, while President Trump has a very narrow path. And frankly, I'd rather be in our camp than his tonight. We have to remember that every vote needs to be counted before we conclude this election. Vote counts happen at the state and county level. And we have a number of states and counties that have already indicated they won't be done counting votes for several days.
Senator Coons, with the exception possibly of Arizona, it looks more and more like Joe Biden is going to have to rely on that blue wall, turning Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania back into the Democratic corner. How do you feel about what you've heard from your sources on the ground about how the industrial Midwest is playing out for Joe Biden?
Well, I've been texting and calling with my Senate colleagues as well as local elected officials and organizers in several states today, the ones you just referenced, and I'm optimistic. I think we're ultimately going to have a great outcome for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They've had the right message from the beginning of this campaign about bringing people together, getting us out of this pandemic and building back stronger our economy. But we just have to be patient and make sure that every vote gets counted in what ultimately may be one of several paths towards a victory by Joe Biden tonight or tomorrow.
The Trump campaign threw out Minnesota as a possible pickup for them. Do you see that in the cards? Is it something you're worried about?
I really don't. What I'm hearing from Minnesota elected officials I've touched base with is that although Minnesota is a state where you can show up and vote at the last moment, they don't see anything that's happened on the ground today that suggests to them that Donald Trump may unexpectedly take Minnesota.
Senator, we have to say congratulations to you. You won your race. Turns out you also had a campaign to run. But what about what's going on in the Senate? I know Democrats had high hopes of taking back this Senate, but some of the races are not turning out as expected. In particular, North Carolina, Tom Tillis, the Republican incumbent, appearing to do better than many expected.
Well, so far I've been encouraged by the outcomes in Colorado and likely in Arizona. I'm sorry for my colleague, Doug Jones, who you've called to not be reelected, but he's done a great job in the Senate. And I think there's other news tonight that is encouraging in Georgia and in other states. But in several states that we expect to pick up Senate seats in, it is still too close to call.
Right.
Senator Coons, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
We will take another quick break here. We'll continue with our coverage right after this.
You ready to go to work?
I'm so ready to go to work.
She's Joe Biden's choice to be next in line. But who is Kamala Harris? Join me, Joy Reid, as I explore her life's journey from Oakland to Washington on my 6-part podcast, Kamala Next in Line. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts.
Washington feels more chaotic than ever.
And y'all share commercials. Like I said, they are smart. They are inserting commercials literally in their live streams. We need to start doing the same thing in our videos, y'all.
Will increase as it goes on, and not just tonight.
Oh, much love, Centel. You know I love you, baby.
Told us that Friday is the very earliest. In fact, Pennsylvania will still accept absentee votes that come in as long as they were postmarked by today until Friday. So this is going to take some time. But George, looking into some of the details here, particularly in Michigan, I see signs of that should be concerning to the Democrats. I see Donald Trump performing in these early returns quite well in places like Macomb County, which he won last time. He seems to be potentially putting up numbers bigger than he did 4 years ago. And also in Kent County, Grand Rapids, which is where he held his very last rally of this campaign.
Juju Chang is in Michigan. Juju, tell us more about what you're hearing about how the counting is going, how long it's going to take.
Well, George, it will definitely be a marathon nail biter here, but at least in Michigan, not as marathon as projected. The Secretary of State Benson said a short time ago in a press conference that she believes it will be fully tabulated within 24 hours. Now, they originally said they wouldn't be done until Friday, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that yesterday, unlike the other upper Midwestern states, they had 10 hours to process. They had an army of volunteers come in, hand open envelopes, check signatures, so that at 7 a.m. this morning, with a double the number of speed counting machines, they were able to get to work, and they believe